Hi, my name is David Rice. I have a Substack called Hit Christian, and you can find me on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and Missouri Liberty Radio. I'm broadcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays from Missouri, out of Owensville. I'm here speaking with a young lady. She is going to be telling us her story about she was president of the Nodaway County Federated Republican Women. And she had an interesting experience where she was kicked off or kicked out of her position because you spoke to the wrong person, the wrong candidate, when they were trying to support Jeff Farnan.
Yes.
So could you talk to us just about what the Federated Republican Women do first?
The Nodaway County Federated Republican Women are for anybody in the county, but it's locally, mainly Maryville. And we are supposed to be supportive of the Republican Party. Our main thing is to work for the area, all candidates running for any office, city, district, 6th district, which is congressional. And we're not to be biased by any candidate. We're supposed to support all of them. We are not supposed to pick one particular candidate during that, and we also are supposed to support the presidential candidate. And
so whoever's the presidential candidate running for the Republican Party.
After the primary, if there is more than one candidate running, then we support that one starting in October. We can't do anything until October, sign-wise, anything.
So you pride yourselves on trying to be as neutral as possible.
Yes.
And how do you support the Republican candidates? What process?
When I was elected president, our goal is, at the time when I first took over in 2021, right after that, in 2022, we had 5 candidates running for 1st District. So my job was, and we also had 3 candidates running for 6th District Senator for Jefferson City, for this area. My job was to get all of them in during meetings to give their speech, to tell how they want to do, what they want to do once they get if they get elected into office, and be fair and balanced with all of them. In 2022, there was 5 candidates, and that's when it started going downhill for me.
Okay, so there's 5 candidates running for District 1?
Yes.
Okay, and so that's a lot of candidates for one district?
Yes.
Especially for a Republican?
Yes.
So why do you think, I know this may be off topic, but why were there so many candidates running for one district? And was this the northwest district in the state?
Yes, it is. I believe. Well, I believe one of the reasons that they had 5 candidates because they were determined not to get, I cannot think of her first name, Piper, the one Democrat. She's a Democrat. She had been a school teacher here in the Maryville district. She was so far left liberal that they had to fire her from school, and she was running against them.
Oh. Well, is she the one that's on Twitter talking about abortion all the time?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I think I've seen her, seen some of her posts. And so they needed 5 people to run against her?
Well, as I found out, as the election season went on, every single one of those candidates was related to somebody in that group. And it started to dawn on me there was going to be an issue. The only one not related was Michelle Horner.
Okay. And so you have this large group of people running, all trying to run against Piper, but Michelle Horner is not related to Piper?
She's not related to any of the women in that group.
Okay, any of the women in the Federated Republican Women group.
Yes.
And so there's this relationship, familial relationship to the Federated Republican Women. And so the people who are running are all family.
Yes.
Okay, so how is that not biased?
It's very biased. Very biased. It became so toxic especially when it was Michelle's turn to speak. They out loud was criticizing her, which is, they're supposed to be silent. They're supposed to let everybody have their turn, sneered. And then it became toxic verbal abuse against me because they felt like I was being biased with her when I really wasn't.
So was Michelle facing this kind of Republican backlash in a lot of groups in District 1 or just in the Federated Republican Women?
At first, I thought it was just the Republican women. But then, as I started doing my own research, the ex-president that asked me to be president, I found out that she was the aunt to one of the candidates, Jeff Farnan.
Mm-hmm.
Then her daughter-in-law is the county clerk, still is, and it became very clear to me that they were going to do everything they could not to get Michelle. They tried to make it look like they were okay with the other candidates, but it became very clear during that period of time in 2022, and that was the first time Jeff Farnan ran.
So the person who won the primary was Jeff Farnan, right?
Yes.
And so the person who certified the votes for Jeff Farnan is related to Jeff Farnan.
Yes.
So that's no problem here, so we should all look away and close our eyes and pretend that it's okay that they're related. So, I mean, and that they wanted the best person to win and not the person that they're related to. So we'll gloss over that and move past it.
I got to say something. You said the best person to win.
Yeah.
He was not, because can I say this?
Absolutely, go ahead.
When I had him speak, I had Jeff Farnan speak at the same time I had Rusty Black that ran for 6th District Senator.
Okay.
And I'd had the other gentleman speak. Jeff Farnan was sitting right by me. So when it was time to introduce him, he begged me not to let him stand. And I go, if you get elected, you're going to have to stand on the floor of legislation in Jefferson City. Mm-hmm. So he got up, barely introduced himself because he was like scared to death. And one person, so I opened it up to questions. Someone in the back room asked him, what is your opinion about all of our farmland getting sold up to foreign entities? And he hesitated for a minute and he goes, honestly, I don't see a problem with it. And I had a jaw drop, and I looked at the group and they were kind of doing, that eyeball thing, and he still got elected.
It's because of his family. So it's okay. Yes. It's okay that we sell land to China as long as he's family. And so Jeff Farnan obviously didn't have the right ideas. He didn't have the right positions. He didn't have a conservative values. It was all about our constitutional values. It was all about family. And because if you're family, that means we can control you. If we can control you, we get the right votes in Jeff City. If we get the right votes in Jeff City, then we get more money to our farmland. Because up here, what's your main industry?
Farming.
And Kehoe is, I saw a lot of Kehoe signs on my way up. And so Kehoe is, I imagine, is someone that a lot of the farmers around here support. So Michelle Horner's positions, is she constitutional, conservative? Does she have the values that District 1 needed?
Absolutely. And she is so for our children. And he didn't mention anything. She wants to see the school districts run right. She does not want to see all this wokeness happen to our children. She cares about...
Did he mention Title IX at all?
No.
Did he mention Amendment 3?
No.
Did he talk about the fact that abortion up to 9 months?
No.
Did he talk about the fact that reproductive health care includes transing children, minors?
Nope.
What did she say about these issues?
She talked about every single one of them, and I will, when we get to it, I'll tell you what happened on June 11th or July 11th of this year, right before the primary.
Okay, so let's talk about when things really turned sour for you with the Federation Confederate. Sorry, I want to say Confederate. Federation of Republican Women. I don't know why I want to say Confederate because they kind of sound like Confederates right now. So
well, that in 2022, I had not been president very long. They didn't do anything when I took over. When I was going to meetings, they met, they did the Pledge of Allegiance, said the Lord's Prayer, and then maybe have a speaker, but then sit there and gossip. And when I took over, I got the rule book for the Federated Woman. I read it from cover to cover. I got the Robert's Rules of Order, and I said, we're going to start doing this. And I told him, I said, you pay $30 a year to belong to this group, and you belong to the state, and you belong to the national place. And I said, we need to start doing this. We need to go out and campaign. We're supposed to have a, what do you call that?
A purpose?
No, well, yeah, a purpose, but like a scholarship for a college girl, or have a high school student write why they believe in the Constitution. I was just knocked down left and right. They just thought that was ridiculous. And during that period of time, in July of 2022, I started getting hounded by the state president. Then I started getting hounded by the national president, that this was the only group in the whole United States, and there is 1,000 groups or better all over the United States. We had never done an audit. So the treasurer is related to who she's going to talk about, and they had all been, these women had been a knit group like this. And when I asked her in July, she went off on me, and at the next meeting, totally, I was trying to conduct the meeting, she gets up out of her chair, gets up there and stands up there and berates me, and she was trying to get me thrown out then, and I buckled. I melted, and I had forgotten that one of the guest speakers at that moment had already spoke. I thought they had all left. I thought it was just the women. Sitting in the corner by me was, at the time, I can't say his name. I don't want him, but he was the prosecuting attorney at the time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I looked over at him, and he was just shaking his head like that. He got up and walked out, and when she realized he was in there, she sat down. So as the rest of that summer went by, I kept asking her. It got more volatile against me, and then I got called in September to have a meeting with two of her group in there. There was a whole group of them that was totally, at this point, wanted me out. And I took two women from the group that was backing me. We went to Burger King, and they just went off on me. Yeah. They told me I had stolen $2,000. So I said, I've never stolen anything, but Cheryl, I need that ledger. And she said, I can't give it to you because I've whited out. And I go, what? You never white out on a ledger. She goes, well, my daughter's fixing it. And the lady with her said she had to white out because you had made so many mistakes. And I knew at that very moment right there what was going down. They made me turn over, because the checkbook has the treasurer's name and my name. We both had to sign it. Yeah. And they wanted it turned over. I should have not turned it over, but I could see no way forward in this group. So I don't know, it was maybe 2 weeks after that, as president, I had to go to Parkville, Missouri, because it was a 6th district congressional meeting where we won an award. I had worked really hard. They were going to present it. Only the treasurer and the vice president went with me, but they were silent because they were afraid of him.
Yeah.
So I went down there. While I was down there, they held a meeting. This treasurer that was mad at me called a secret meeting, and she didn't even have an election. They put another lady in as president. When I come back, I was ostracated, however you say that word. And so I called the state president and the treasurer, and they come up, and the state president said, you need to walk away. They're about ready to be closed down. And so, but while I was at the 6th district, this treasurer, Cheryl Chestnut, went to the prosecuting attorney, tried to process me for saying I stole money. He turned her away, said that I'm not doing that. She went to the sheriff. He knew me. He goes, I am not doing that. So yeah, she made it miserable. She made it miserable. And I walked away. I have never felt so defeated in my life. And I thought it was over. Last November in 2023, I had been to Kansas City, come home, and my pastor called me. And he said, I need to talk to you. So I went into his office. He said, I've had people come and tell me that you stole money from the Republican women. And he said, also the ministry center. Now, mind you, there are Republican women that are associated with the ministry center. I want to try not to cry now. I was
devastated.
I was devastated.
Yeah.
It felt like
the ultimate betrayal. Yeah.
Yes, it did. And as time went by, my pastor and I, we worked through it. Ultimately, I have found out in early 2024 that Cheryl Chestnut got taken off her position because $2,500 more had come up lost.
So you heard this.
I heard this. It was expressed to me.
It was expressed to you. Okay. So you have accusations being made against you, trying to tear you down, people whiting out ledgers that you're not even in charge of, and you're dealing with people trying to criminalize you because you're just trying to get this group here in Nodaway County to just act like conservative, constitutional Republican women.
Yes, and follow the rules.
Follow the rules. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of this across the state. It's not just here. I've seen this in Wright County. I've seen this in Christian County. I've seen this in Vernon County. I've seen this in St. Louis County. This is a problem in Republican. This is a problem in Republican circles, and they think that they have the high ground on morality, and they're the abyss. So I'm not trying to editorialize right now, but yeah, I am sorry you've gone through this process. So, and it is unfortunate in every regard.
Well, I took a back seat during the rest of 2022 and most of 23 after this happened to me, and then Michelle contacted me and told me Michelle Horner was going to put herself out there again and run. And this time in 24, it was only Michelle Horner and Jeff Farnan. And a lot of people, they need to go when there are getting close to the primaries. I tried this in 2022. I became friends with a gentleman that owns the movie theater here. He was super excited. I told him I would like to have an open forum. All candidates, Republican, Democrat.
Sure.
In 2022, they tore me apart on that. So I dropped Rudy. So then in 2024,
we have a special guest speaker,
Rudy,
on our interview.
In this July of 2024, early on, when Michelle got a hold of me, I contacted the gentleman again, and I put it on. There is another group here in this area called Nodaway Conservatives. I wrote on there, I'm a member. wrote on there, would anybody be interested in helping have an open forum? Immediately. And these were Republican women that got on there, and it was Trina Sunderman. She was totally against it. And then all of a sudden, one of the women that had ran in 2022, Holly Cronk, she posted, I don't know how you do this, but on the side she put, "This is what I was talking about, Holly." And they called the gentleman that owns the Hangar, and he calls me.
Hangar's a movie theater.
Movie theater. And he goes, "I can't do this. This will ruin my business here in Maryville," because he's from out east.
Okay.
And he goes, "I can't, Pam, I'm sorry." And I said, "I'm stunned that it's happening again, because these are Republican women, but I get it."
They act like cancel culture.
Yes.
They act like the liberal cancel culture of the West Coast and East Coast people, and they're doing it here in Maryville, which is supposed to be this small town, supposedly conservative area.
Yes.
And they're just as disgusting, in my view, if you're going to do cancel culture, whether it's here or there. So.
I think they were afraid that if I put those candidates up on a public setting and more people would come to it, because they would be interested, it's going to expose their candidate, Jeff Farnan, because the public could ask questions. As on July 11th, the public forum that was held, it was 3 people.
Yeah.
It was 2 people from the newspapers and a college student that runs a Democratic paper on campus. They had specific questions. You can't raise your hand out in the audience. You can't, "What are you talking about?" Because one of the questions they asked was, and this was to the 2 first district representatives candidates, Jeff Farnan and Michelle Horner. This question sticks in my mind and it haunts me. They asked Jeff first. AI has become very popular, very in our eyes, in the public. What will you do if you get reelected? He clapped his hands together. He goes, "I'm so excited about it. I can't wait." He goes, "My first thing is to put a device in the palm of your hand or a scanner on your body, so where we can monitor when you go to the grocery store, how many times you go to the grocery store, how many times you go to the liquor store, how many times you get gas." And I'm sitting there. I took everything I had not to raise my hand, because now as I look back at it, I wished I would have done it. The only thing they could have done is said, "You need to leave."
Has he been talking to George Soros? Because this is very much a WEF plan to monitor when we go to the grocery store, monitor when we buy liquor, monitor when we buy cigarettes. This comes from Davos.
Well, and here's the thing. The very first thing that came to my mind was, this is me. Because I do a daily Bible study, and I had just read Revelation 24 about the mark of the beast. That's where my brain went. And I was like, "Oh my word, this cannot be happening right here in this area, and I will not let it happen." And he got elected. The other thing that's disturbing to me is there is a women's abuse shelter here.
Mm-hmm.
They are all Democrat. That is all they did, was raise money for him. She can tell you the big part about it. I was stunned. Well, then I learned that the director of the abuse shelter here is his aunt.
Okay, so they're related. So what are his real views? Like when he's at home in private, it kind of makes you question, is he really a Republican, or is he just running as a Republican because he needs the R next to his name, because that's the only way he can get elected in this county?
That's what I believe. And I believe that when he's on the floor in Jeff City, This just, I've not been down there to watch him, but if a Democrat is arguing a point, I would believe 9 times out of 10 that Jeff Farnan will vote that way.
Yeah, and he probably would, or he votes whatever the party tells him to do. And
that's exactly it. The big money.
If it's Axiom Strategies behind him telling him what to do, or if it's Americans for Prosperity telling him what to do, any of those lobbyists who are bankrolling his campaign, or trying to get him back in Jeff City, he's doing whatever they're telling him to do. He has no thoughts of his own. It doesn't sound like.
No, he does not.
So.
No.
I haven't met Jeff Farnan, so I'm just guessing as a journalist. But he doesn't seem like he's the best candidate that District 1 could have put forward.
No, he's got that good boy, old boy print.
I saw a picture of him. He's got that doughboy face, you know. He's got that kind of golden hair look. It looks like he could have been raised on a farm, appearance,
yes,
you know. And so he's got the picture he needs to have on the billboards so he can get elected.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean he's got the mind for the job. So, are the ideas. There was another incident you were telling me about before we started the interview where you wanted to go talk to Michelle about her chickens.
Well, during the 2022,
okay,
before the primary, I had all 5 candidates. They saw me during one meeting because she joined the Nodaway County Federated Republican Women, so she was a member. And so she came regularly leading up to the primary. So I was friendly with every candidate. The rest of them just were against me because they were part of the women that were related to all of them. And her and I, we didn't meet in public. We weren't friendly that way. I just had a connection with her because I could tell, and I knew in my heart she was the true Republican.
Yeah.
So she told me, as I learned about her family, that they raised chickens. So she brought me eggs. Simple as that. They saw me go to her car after a meeting. What I was doing was picking up eggs.
Yeah.
They condemned me big time about it. So then the very next meeting, I had a Walmart bag and I had her empty egg cartons, and I go, this is why I went to her car. I mean, I just felt like I'm dealing with people that are just so biased about everything, and I knew that I just knew my time was limited, but I had no idea in my heart it was going to go down the way it did.
You started with a group of women that was born out of gossip, and they never really left that world. They were still stuck in the world of gossip.
Yes.
They never wanted to grow out of the gossip. They never wanted to mature past the gossip. And they just wanted to live there.
They lived their life to be in a parade. And just, that's all. That's what they had on their float. I was in with Michelle.
Yeah.
And I was, right behind us was Chris Wright. He came all the way up here because he knew he didn't have a chance to win governor, but God bless him, he tried. And back behind was their float. All it had was Jeff Farnan on it. That is, you can't do that. They knew that. And this is just expressed to me. But one day, as God would have it, this was after the primary, I was driving to go to the community center where I work out. And I saw a lady walking, and I turned around and come back because I knew her. And her car broke down. She asked me, she goes, Pam, you know, I didn't make it to the meetings hardly at all when you were president. But she said, I did make it to a couple before the primary. She goes, is it okay in your bylaws to pass around a basket to take up money for a candidate? And I go, wait, what? What are you talking about? No, we have to be totally biased.
I'm biased. You said totally biased, but you
Or I meant like
unbiased.
unbiased. You have to be non-committal
Yeah.
to any candidate, and they didn't even have Michelle come speak. She didn't even get asked to come speak, and you're supposed to have them all, but you cannot take up monies for them.
Sure.
And I also saved a paper that a week, it was actually come out, I believe, July 1st. This, when I read this, because I get the local paper, this blew my mind away. They had already set the meeting the Thursday after the primary, where they were having Jeff Farnan speak about what he was going to do in the 2024, when he got elected 2024 in Jeff City.
So they've already kinged him. You know, they've already played their game of checkers out. They've already decided who's going to be elected in the primary.
Yes.
Their rules have, their games are already decided. There's no chance for Michelle to have won.
No.
So it makes you wonder why they even bothered with the whole facade of it. The voters are just. Did the voters even, should they even showed up at the polls? Should they have just stayed home that day?
That's a big question, and I will tell you, not many days after the primary, I was at the community center on my exercise bike, and older people come in there, and a young man that's like, he helps them.
Yeah.
And one of the old guys asked him, "Did you go vote?" And he goes, "No, I didn't make it this time." And so I spoke up. I said, "Did any of you go to the forum on July 11th? No, we didn't go." I said, "Well, then you should have." And I told them what he said, and they stopped what they were doing, and they go, "What?"
Yeah.
I said, "You should have went. That is what they're for." Because I said, he got elected. I'm not criticizing any of you if you voted for him, but this is what you're in for. And they were stunned.
Yeah, I have those same conversations with people about Keogh, and they look at me like I'm the one who's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, guys, we'll buckle up.
And Jeff did endorse Keogh.
Yeah, so Jeff Farnan, I'm not surprised he endorsed Keogh. So, well, I would always want to give the people I speak with the last word. So before I end, is there anything you would like to say or add? Because I really enjoyed this interview, and thank you so much for giving me your time.
You're very welcome. I believe that it was very corrupt, the whole entire episode, which I prayed about it when they asked me to be president. I wanted to do exactly what was right for not only Maryville, but for our county. I was not given that chance. And after it all happened to me, which was devastating, still kind of haunts me, but the only way I have made it through is with my good Christian sisters and my Father in heaven, Jesus Christ. He has been my defender, my supporter, and that's what people need to turn to when they go through this stuff like this. But I'm kind of at a point where I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm afraid for our country right now, and
I am too. I kind of look at we dealing with an Elijah moment where he's running down the hill, and
yes,
and Ahab and Jezebel are completely in charge, and there's no way out of it, and short of Babylon coming in. I do not know.
Well, my hope is that I want to tell people, this is the hope. If you are a Christian and you read the Word of God, you know it was already written. We don't know these little things like that happen to us, but He's told us this is how it's going to be. So we have to buckle up, come together as Christians, and walk through this, because this is the way the end is going to happen, and it's probably going to get worse, but we just have to do the good fight. That's what Jesus wants us to do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this interview.
You're very welcome.